have you ever stopped to think that maybe the food you're eating could be, well, secretly fanning the flames of inflammation inside you? It's a big question, and today we're going to dive right into it. We're going to uncover that really powerful link between what's on your plate and how you actually feel day in and day out.
So why should we even care about anti-inflammatory foods? Well, inflammation is one of those buzzwords you hear everywhere, right? But honestly, it's pretty misunderstood. I mean, sure, it's a totally natural healing process. But when it gets out of control, when it just doesn't stop, it can become this hidden driver behind a ton of chronic health problems. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. Your diet is probably one of the most powerful tools you have to fight back.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll break down what chronic inflammation actually is. Then, we'll get into the good stuff, fighting that fire with food. We're going to build an awesome anti-inflammatory shopping list, but we'll also call out the foods that can fuel the flames. After that, we'll talk about how it's more than just diet, and we'll finish up by figuring out your very first healthy step.
Okay, let's kick things off with the problem itself. What is this hidden danger of chronic inflammation? So the best way to think about inflammation is like your body's own internal fire department, right? You get a cut, and boom, it rushes to the scene to protect and heal you. That's acute inflammation, and we need it. It's a good thing. But chronic inflammation, well, that's when the fire department just never goes home. It's this constant low-grade state of alert. And over time, that's linked to some really serious stuff like heart disease, diabetes, and arthritis. And this isn't just a vague idea. Doctors can actually measure it in your blood with markers like C-reactive protein, or CRP.
So the big question is, how do we put out that fire? Well, this brings us to the solution. And guess what? It starts right on your plate.
And look, this isn't just some vague wellness theory. The science on this is super clear. A smart, strategic diet can directly lower those inflammatory markers, the CRP we just talked about, and seriously cut your risk for major diseases. It's pretty simple when you think about it. Your food choices matter a lot.
Okay, now for the really fun part. Let's actually build your toolkit for better health. I'm talking about your anti-inflammatory shopping list. We've got 12 absolute powerhouses to talk about.
First up on the list, fruits. Think about berries like strawberries and blueberries. They are just packed with these amazing antioxidants called anthocyanins. That's what gives them that beautiful, rich color. Then you've got citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruits. They give you a huge dose of flavonoids and vitamin C, which are like little bodyguards for your cells. And don't forget grapes. They've got resveratrol, which is another one of these powerhouse antioxidants that actively helps calm down those inflammatory pathways in your body.
All right, next category, vegetables and legumes. Carrots are amazing. They have this compound called falcarinol that's actually been shown to reduce inflammatory proteins. And of course, leafy greens, spinach, kale, they're just absolutely loaded with antioxidants. And beans and lentils, they are fantastic. The soluble fiber in them feeds the good bacteria in your gut. And guess what those little guys do? They release their own anti-inflammatory compounds. How cool is that?
Okay, let's move on to some really potent flavorings. We're going to start with a spice that's gotten super famous for a reason. I'm talking about turmeric. Turmeric is a true powerhouse, right alongside herbs like rosemary and spices like cinnamon. I mean, get this. A 2021 review found that turmeric supplements significantly decreased inflammatory markers, especially in people with conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. That's huge. Garlic and ginger are also total champions in this department. And here's one you'll love. Even cacao. Yep, the raw form of chocolate is packed with these protective compounds. Just make sure you're reaching for dark chocolate, to skip all that extra sugar.
Last but definitely not least, let's talk healthy fats and proteins. Things like oily fish, salmon, sardines, they're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, which go in and directly fight inflammation. Then you have olives and olive oil, the staples of the Mediterranean diet. They're packed with these protective antioxidants called polyphenols. And nuts and seeds like walnuts and almonds, they give you fiber, healthy fats, and can even boost levels of a hormone called adiponectin, which helps regulate your whole inflammatory response.
So you might be wondering, how fast can you actually see a difference? Well, a 2021 study looked at people who are at high risk for heart disease. They found that a diet rich in oily fish led to significant drops in inflammatory markers in just 8 weeks. That's right, 2 months. It's just such a powerful reminder of how quickly your body can respond when you start making these kinds of changes.
But of course, knowing what to add to your plate is really only half the battle, isn't it? It's just as crucial to know which foods can have the exact opposite effect, the ones that can actually fuel the fire.
So, think of it like this. On one side, you've got your inflammation-fighting dream team, salmon, spinach, walnuts, berries. But on the other side, you've got the pro-inflammatory foods. We're talking about processed meats, sugary cereals and sodas, and those refined grains you find in white bread and pastries. These kinds of foods can actually trigger an inflammatory response. Now, that doesn't mean you have to banish them forever, but the key really is to limit them as much as you can.
Now, food is obviously incredibly powerful, but it's so important to remember that it's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. A truly anti-inflammatory lifestyle, it's got to be holistic.
Yep, beyond what's on your plate, your other lifestyle choices play a massive role. Things like regular exercise, maintaining a healthy body weight, limiting how much alcohol you drink, and of course, avoiding smoking, these are all absolutely crucial steps you can take to lower inflammation and cut down on your long-term disease risk.
Wow, okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, right? From the nitty-gritty science of inflammation all the way to a full-on shopping list. So the question is, how do we make this real? How do we actually put it all into action?
I think the most important thing to take away from all this is that you are not just a passive bystander when it comes to your own health. Not at all. The choices you make at every single meal give you an incredibly powerful tool to protect your body from the inside out.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. After everything we've talked about today, what's just one food from our list that you're going to add to your plate this week? Seriously, just one. Maybe it's a handful of blueberries in your morning oatmeal, or a side of spinach with dinner. It doesn't have to be a huge overhaul. That one small step, that's where the real change always begins.